Hey folks, welcome back. The flower we're going to tie today is the Aggravator. This is a great little nymph pattern that can be mistaken for so many different things. Everything from crawdads, damselfly nymphs, even minnows. This can be mistaken for a lot. Very versatile pattern. The hook I have in the vise is a 1x heavy, 1x long size 8 nymph hook. And I've got a gold bead on there. Just use a bead to match the hook size that you're using. I'm going to come in with some 030 lead-free wire, and I'm just going to put about 4 wraps or so up here at the front up against that bead. I like to use a pretty heavy lead on this because it'll help bulk out that thorax a little bit. Alright, and the thread I'm going to be using is just a uni thread 6/0 in tan. I'm going to go ahead and get this thread wrapped in. Okay, once you get that lead tied in, we're going to advance our thread back to the rear. Definitely try different collar combinations with this fly. You do not have to tie it specifically the way I'm tying it. Okay, the first thing we're going to tie in is a small clump of marabou, and by small I mean really only 8 or 10 fibers. I'm going to tie those in about the same length as the hook shank. We're going to tie that off the rear just like you would if you were tying a woolly bugger. Just to bulk things out, I'm going to tie that marabou down the full length of the body. Now you should have that really nice, thin, sparse tail coming off the rear there. I'm going to advance my thread back to that tail. Now we're going to tie in a single strand of pearl flashabou. That's going to become our rib. There we go. Now from here I'm going to double body up to the front. I'm going to dub this pretty tight. I'm just using natural rabbit. You can definitely experiment with different dubbings. For the body here, you want things to be relatively tight, so use a dubbing that you can get a really tight dubbing noodle out of. If it's a little spiky, that's just fine. But for the most part, you want a pretty tight little body, and then the front portion up here is what will really shag out. We're going to bring that dubbing noodle right up to the lead, and then we're going to go ahead and come in with our rib. Just spiral that flashabou right up the body, even turns, bring it all the way up to the lead, catch it and tie it down. There we go. Trim off that excess. Now we're going to tie in a set of rubber legs on both sides. Experiment with leg collars as well. I'm using just normal round rubber legs in black. I'm going to lash these down on the top, get a couple wraps around them, and then bring them down to the sides. It's a good, easy way to place them. Go, just like so. Now we're going to come in and create a dubbing loop. It doesn't have to be super long. This is just going to be for the front of the fly. So 3 inches or so will be plenty. I'm going to get these legs out of the way here and advance my thread up to the front. Now I'm going to come in and apply some wax to this dubbing loop so it's nice and tacky, nice and grippy. And if you want a different color thorax up here, you can definitely do that. I'm going to use the same dubbing that I used on the body. Okay? And I'm really going to load this dubbing loop up because we're going to brush that out quite a bit. We want a pretty shaggy head up here. There we go. So once you get that dubbing loop loaded up, use whatever tool you like to spin it. Go ahead and get that spun. Once I get some good turns in there, I do like to come in and brush it out or pick it out, get some of that loose stuff out because you're definitely going to have some. Especially if you're using rabbit like I am. tends to have some fibers that'll come out. So I'll get that cleaned out, then I'll spin it just a little bit more, and now we'll start wrapping. So I'm going to do a wrap right between those legs. Okay, good full 2-turn wrap. And then before I advance it up, we're going to take these other legs, pull those back, get some wraps right in front of them. Go all the way up to that bead, capture that dubbing loop, get it tied down. I'm going to trim out that excess. You can see we got that nice shaggy head. If you want to come in and pick that out and clean it out, you definitely can. Mine actually splayed out pretty well, so I'm not going to worry about it. Now I've got a piece of turkey tail that I prepared earlier. I just coated that with flexible cement and then cut that little notch in it. Okay, the flexible cement, or even hard as nails, something on there to strengthen that feather will definitely help you out, so pre-coat that before you cut it. Okay, that's the next thing we're going to tie in, but before we do that, I'm going to come in with my scissors and trim the bulk of this top dubbing out to give us a little bit of a flat platform up here. Okay. And now I'm just going to set that turkey tail fiber right up on top of it. And I want that to extend just past the shaggy dubbing. We'll capture that right up here on the top and tie that down. Should have something that looks like that. Then I'll trim out the front part of that feather. If it sticks up a little bit, it does not hurt a thing. Okay, we'll get that hidden. So now I'm going to come in with a little more dubbing. Do a nice small little dubbing loop just to clean up the collar up here. Get a few wraps around that. Get everything cleaned up and pulled back. Then we'll come in and whip finish. Should have something that looks like that. Now these rear legs, I'm going to cut those off the same length as the hook shank. Front legs I'll pull out to the front and cut just slightly shorter. Once you get your initial cut, you can come in and look at it and just trim those out. There we go. That's it. So it's really easy to tie, and like I say, the great thing about this pattern is it can be mistaken for so many different things when it's in the water, and it can be tied in so many different colors. We tie this a lot of time in really bright colors as kind of a just a, you know, a shock pattern, really, that's worked really well. We've tied these in chartreuse and all kinds of crazy colors. But more natural tends to work a little more consistently. But it's got great tail movement. All of this up here moves, including that dubbing. Very buggy. Works like a champ. So tie some of these up, get them in your box. Very effective pattern. We thank you all for stopping by and checking this out. Tight lines.